Good morning to all our viewers, followers from Santa Cruz County Public Media. We love Nogales. We are very excited to be part of the 7th annual Southern Arizona Opioid Misuse Prevention Symposium. Dr. Arnold, Pep, and all their team are putting together this amazing program for all of us in Southern Arizona, and we have the honor also to get to meet Emmanuel Asonier. Welcome, Emmanuel. It is such a pleasure. I've been following your news about the mobile app that you're creating to help around southern Arizona, and for us to expand more of our knowledge with dialects, with different languages, and all this that you're bringing from New Mexico for us here with the help of Dr. Arnold and Pep. So, welcome. It is a pleasure for us to have you here. So, tell us a little bit about yourself and a little bit of what you will be talking about here on the 7th Annual Symposium. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. I am pleased to be here today, courtesy of Dr. Arnold and Pep. Dr. Arnold is an old friend. We met as far back as 2010 when I was still in Nigeria. My name is Dr. Emmanuel Asonye. I am here as a researcher researching on the indigenous signed and spoken languages. And I am the CEO of Indigenous Hands and Voices. And what we do is to promote and preserve our indigenous signed and spoken languages so that they do not die. Just like UNESCO is predicting that so many indigenous languages are dying, and you may not know that every 2 weeks, one indigenous language dies. In my work, I have understood and found out that there are so many developed sign languages, especially the sign languages of the American native communities, the Plains Indian sign languages, but hardly would you hear anybody talking about it. Today, I have used my platform, my organization, to create two mobile applications. One is for the indigenous sign languages. It is called iHands, which is indigenous hands. And the other one, the latest app, is called Omenka, which is named after my own language, Igbo language, spoken in Nigeria, predicted in 2006 as one of the languages that would die. And I am one of those people that said, no, my language will not die, my culture will not die. And what I'm trying to tell people across the community is that you can do something to prevent your indigenous language from dying, whether signed or spoken. You can improve the status of such language. And that's one of the things I'm sharing here today.
Thank you, Dr. Osanie. We will talk more about all this research. I appreciate your time, and let's start. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. We will be live streaming, so please enjoy all the information. Thank you.
This dinner on arrival to our paper surveys. Throughout the day, we would encourage you to fill out those surveys, give feedback on individuals and speakers, but please know what we can do to make this experience or make this event better for you. And we really take that to heart as we plan for next year's symposium and as we go from there. So please take a look at that. Also, in the back table directly in front of me, we have t-shirts. We have t-shirts that we are selling. These t-shirts fund some of the work we're doing to be free FEMA. We want to make sure that you guys get some of the opportunity to buy these t-shirts and support the work we're doing. So please, see the back table right here directly in front of you. Grab a t-shirt, support a t-shirt, and represent and fund what we're doing and the work we're doing in the community. So please, do that if you get a chance. We appreciate that support. As we get going, I want to take this opportunity to thank some sponsors. We want to thank the Arizona Association of Addiction Professionals. We want to thank our diamond sponsors from Pima County Health Department, the Desert Diamond Casino. We want to thank our champion sponsors from PEP Inc., TMC, La Frontera. We want to look at our leader sponsors for Banner University Health Plan, Code Community Services Incorporated, Emerging Biosolutions, People Prediction Partnership. And we want to thank our partner sponsors at Banner Health, Kodak Health and Recovery and Wellness, Community Medical Services, Community Partners Inc., Desert Palms Vet Clinic, El Dorado Springs Behavioral Health Hospital, Hope Inc., Sonora Behavioral Health, and Mercy Care and TGS Counseling. So, as we get going real quick, what I want to do is start this off with an acknowledgement. We're going to ask one of our members to come up here by the name of Eddie Grijalva to give us a blessing as we move forward, give you a little background, and talk to you a little bit about Mr. Grijalva. Eddie has worked in the field of behavioral health for over 37 years. Eddie is a Vietnam vet and is in long-term recovery. He previously was a LISAC and is a recovery support specialist and a certified clinical trauma specialist. Over the years, he has been in various services in state-funded and private companies, including detox services, residential treatment programs, outpatient and intensive outpatient treatment. Eddie is the co-founder of the annual Red Road to World Variety Celebration, hosting two annual events held in the San Javier district of the Tohono Nation. These gatherings celebrate recovery and awareness on HIV and AIDS in Native communities. Eddie has also been a chaplain for over 24 years. Eddie has presented at state and national conferences on historical trauma, childhood trauma. He is deeply involved in his community as an advocate and volunteer and encourages to others that recovery is possible. Mr. Grijalva.
I usually don't talk very loud unless I'm arguing with my wife. And she usually wins. Because you gotta keep the home happy, right? And so, quick story, we have had a long relationship, my wife and I, almost 40 years by the grace of God. And so, early on, we made a decision that in order to keep our marriage going, we would have to agree on a couple of things. And so we agreed that I would make all the major decisions, she would make all the minor decisions, and up until now there haven't been any major decisions. That's how you keep a marriage going, right? You gotta figure out how to do that. As Doyle mentioned, I'm blessed to be here. I want to thank Amy and the CPC and all the work that they've, over the years, all the work that they've done and so many lives that they've impacted in the work that they do, not just here in the Tucson area community, but going out to Toronto and different other places and making a change. And you know, a lot of times we don't see the change, but every day what we're really doing is we're investing in the future. And the future of our children, their families, for generations to come. And so, as he mentioned earlier, also Doyle, is that we want to be able to also acknowledge what we call land acknowledgement. And Land acknowledgement actually is a formal statement in which it's recognized and respects indigenous people. Indigenous people, and what we mean, of course, are the people who occupied this land many, many years ago, and the traditional stewards that they were long before anybody else came into this area of this land, and the enduring relationships that they have with the land, and all the everything, that lives in this land, the birds that fly, the creatures that walk and the creatures that crawl. And so that also exists between indigenous people and their traditional lands. And so we honor the ancestral stewards of this land in which we meet today. And of course, we know that we are on this land is part of the Onaha Nation. Any Onaha people here? One. All right, I'm right here representing this. Any Yaquis? Another one. Where are the people? I thought we were supposed to be. Oh, there they are. Okay. We're supposed to be represented here. Okay. And so, again, we honor the ancestral stewards of this land in which we meet today, and their descendants doing, that there are over 1,000 tribes. Not all of these tribes have tribal have recognition, but they're working to become recognized. But I think right now there's 762 tribes in the United States. Can anybody name all of them? I was going to give you $1,000 if you could. And so, again, over 1,000 tribes, nations, and we call them, people call themselves different names, nations, tribes, bands, pueblos, communities, native villages, but whatever we call ourselves, whatever tribe you're from, you're always going to acknowledge that that's what we're trying to do. And we're also deeply grateful to the University of Arizona, who was one of the very first, of course, they're one of the largest employers here in this area, and they were able to give a formal recognition to acknowledge, land acknowledgement. And so, as a member, a tribal member, every time we get up, we should, people give us a place to speak, we should do land acknowledgement to acknowledge, of course, all the things that I talked about right now. I was talking to a young lady here, and she said she worked on Navajo Nation as a school counselor for 14 years. And so there's people all over, right, that have worked in this. And so they've asked me to do the blessing, and I appreciate that. I'm always honored that people call me. I don't know if I was their first choice, but thank you for calling me anyway. And so I thank you for that. Ed is not here, but Ed and I are the co-founders of the annual Redwood Tour Variety Celebration. And yesterday somebody posted a video, a documentary that PBS did on the work that we do with the annual Redwood Tour Variety Celebration. And so you can access that also on the PBS archives if you want to do that. So what I'd like to do again is, I'll offer a prayer for today. I also want to remind you that those of you who are here have a very, very important task to complete. And it's nice to get away from the office, right? And not have to stare at the computer all day long. But also, I want to remind you that this is a very important subject. We have too many people losing their lives, too many people ending up, when somebody loses their life, it causes repercussions to the whole system. And so I want to remind you how important it is to be here. And I would always encourage you, I was, had a staff working with me to take notes. And unless you have a super brain and you can remember everything, right? But to take notes and share them with the people who couldn't be here today so that they also have the information, the knowledge that is being shared with us today. And so with that, I want to pray for love. One of the things that, of course, we need is more love. Remember that song? More love, we need more love. There's so much division and hate today. And Lord, I pray that you would just encourage us. Give us the strength, Lord, to see beyond what we see today, Lord, and see people's hearts and see their souls and see where, that they're a creation of God, the creator of all creation and everything on this earth, Lord. And we ask you to just pour your love into us. Without that, Lord, we just can't seem to do the work that we do. And Lord, I ask that you give us peace, Lord. You said, my peace I give you, my peace I leave you. And so we need that peace today, Lord. We need to be able to figure out things, Lord, and not rush into judgment about there's so many things going on in the world today. And we see so many people struggling today on the streets, so many homeless people, so many just destitute. And Lord, I'm concerned about so many women today are out on the streets today. I pray that we would find a solution to that, Lord. You would help us, Lord, get the help that they need. And Lord, I pray that you would help us pray for forgiveness in the Native American 12-step program. We have what is called forgiving the unforgivable. And Lord, that's where you want us to be, Lord. Just as you did, Lord. You said, forgive them, for they know not what they do. And I pray, Lord, that we would be able to do that with each other and those that we see wherever we travel, Lord, and even in our own families, Lord, that some things are just not that important. And Lord, to give us the heart to forgive. And Lord, we pray for protection. There's so much going on. I pray for everybody here, their families, their children, their loved ones. I pray you would protect them, Lord. You would put a hedge of protection and a wall of fire around them, Lord. You would make the crooked path straight. And Lord, I pray for faith. Lord, we need so much faith. I need so much faith, Lord. I pray you would just pour out your faith, Lord, all over this world, Lord. And help us to see why you created this world and what we're supposed to be doing as our part in this world. Why you placed us where we're at right now at this time in this place to do what we're doing, Lord. And that I believe is destiny, Lord. And for us to carry out that destiny, we need your faith, Lord. And Lord, we pray that you will continue to bless us, Lord. Bless our communities, Lord. Bless our tribal communities. Bless us, Lord, in every area of our lives, Lord, that we may be able to bring you honor and glory. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Thank you so much for having me.
All right. We're good. Testing, everything. We want to take this time to do a little bit of recognition and appreciation for Pat, for his involvement in the community and efforts working together on the opioid crisis. We want to take this opportunity to give a Dr. Arnold Award to Dr. John David Arnold, PhD, for the work that he's done in the field. Dr. John David Arnold, PhD, is the CEO of Portable Practical Education Preparation, PEP, Inc., in Tucson, which was founded in 1967 with a $19,000 grant from the War on Poverty Program. With that, he purchased a 1957 insurance company, 48-passenger school bus that became known as La Pulga, the tortoise, and equipped it with books and supplies for educational outreach into poor rural areas, including the migrant worker elders of Arizona. Dr. Arnold has a bachelor's degree from the University of Arizona in Spanish and Sociology, 2 master's degrees in Administration and Education, a Master of Education, and PhD in the same fields. Today, PEP has global operations in South America, as well as in countries on the African continent. This year, PEP will celebrate its 55th anniversary. Woo.
Nice thing receiving awards is you can tell people how little you really deserve it, and how much everybody else in the team does that's been behind you. Also, I want to greet you in the tribal language. We have two tribal people from Africa. Many don't know it, but Africa is a tribal continent. And so Video Kalui, which is hello, and we have Naya, my wife, who's Princess of the Guem, and we have Mr. Anoye, who is also from the Igbos in Nigeria. Part of my job today is to be your PE teacher. In 1978, I was with Cesar Chavez up in La Paz, California. We put a solar collector on his lavanderia, which means laundry. And at the end, he asked me to come to speak to the main body of his staff. And I remember after the dinner, he had us all stand, and we did what's now become known as the power plant. So hopefully you've digested your food, so please everybody stand. I was in Tanzania and Zanzibar over the holidays. I do college lecturing, and as I got back to Tucson, got a call from the president-elect of Liberia. Liberia is a country that was established for slaves to return. And the new president, Joseph Boakai, who had visited PEP before, and wanted us to come to the inauguration. Naya, who was in Ghana, flew up. And one of the first things he received was a packet from CPC. And he was so overjoyed that I heard now that they've adopted the CPC model for the drug rehab program for Liberia. So I wanted to announce that your work is going far wide. I also want to take my rest of my time to introduce you to a very, very important individual. And this is Dr. Emma Asnoye. He's now with the University of New Mexico, but you have his paper in front of you. Please take a look at it. There's a picture of his wonderful family who was speaking in our schools yesterday, the charter schools, and turn over and see the work he's doing. He's a world-class scientist in language and preservation of culture and language. I just wanted him to come and say a word, and be sure that you try out that QR behind the paper.
Thank you, Dr. Arnold, for giving me the opportunity of coming to this podium to share with you briefly some of the things I've been doing for the past 10 years. Of course, it's about 10 years ago that I met Dr. Arnold. And so this is historic, and this is emotional to me that I'm standing here again today. The first time I came here, I came just as a researcher visiting from Nigeria, and I spoke in symposiums like this. But today, I'm speaking as an established researcher doing the work I do. My name is Dr. Emma Asonye, and I am as well the CEO of Indigenous Hands and Voices. Over the years, over the past 10 years, we have created a huge platform that is focused on the preservation and the promotion of indigenous sign and spoken languages. How many of you know that in 2006, that UNESCO predicted the extinction of so many indigenous languages? Anybody here in the house? My language, Igbo, IGBO, spoken in Nigeria, was one of those languages predicted. And it was a good thing that UNESCO made us to know. The unfortunate thing is that my language is spoken by so many millions of people, but the language was not predicted to be dying because it doesn't have speakers. Rather, because of the attitude of speakers towards the language, the younger people are shifting away from the language. The parents are not teaching their children the language, thinking that if they know English, that's all for them. And this started to create communication barrier. Today, I'm here to share with you that our indigenous languages can be a tool towards prevention of opioid amongst youth and amongst young people. A better communication with the nature and the natural environments, communication with the ancestors, communication with our immediate natural environment can be a tool towards prevention of opioid amongst youth and young people. And that is what we're doing. And so over the years, we've created this platform that will house every possible indigenous sign and spoken languages. And how does that work? If you have the device that we have created, it will enable young people, engage them into learning. If they're not learning their indigenous language that would have gone into extinction, they are learning another language, not just for the purposes of getting job, but at least for the excitement of knowing another language and another culture. And I know that you all know that whenever a language dies, a culture dies, a people die, and everything about that community or that population goes into extinction. And that is what we're stopping. In the Native American communities, there are several developed Plains Indian Sign Languages that are being subjugated, that are being suppressed. But you find out that a deaf child is born in a community like this, their first language, that deaf child should be the Native American Sign Language. So our app is now trying to create a platform for development and growth and codification of these sign languages. And some of you may not know, back in the days, up to the 15th centuries, communities used to communicate in sign, one community to another, not just for the deaf, but also for the hearing. And so today, that is what we're bringing back. And so if we are given the opportunity of working with individuals and corporations like PEP, we are going to ensure that our indigenous and Native American and African sign and spoken languages find their way into the new media, especially a time when UNESCO themselves launched the International Decade of Indigenous Languages. And I thank you for this opportunity, and I thank you for, once again, having the opportunity of speaking with wonderful people doing wonderful works in the communities. Thank you.
I just want to say the relevance of what he said. You know, we have thousands of Somalis and other refugees that are coming here. I came here from Mexico as a child, and I didn't know the language and the stress and the bullying and all the kind of things that happen in our students. In having this kind of a connection to prevent opioids, because many of these young people that become bullied and pressured, they go for an alternative, and that's where we open a big door to opioid education and prevention. We can stop that, so that's part of the message today. Thank you so much.
Thank you both, gentlemen. We appreciate you so much. All right, so what we're going to do is continue opening, and we're going to start with our opening. Our opening is going to be conducted by none other than Amy Bass. Amy is the Executive Director of Prevention at PEP, Inc. and has been working in youth substance misuse prevention and family services for over 24 years. Ms. Bass established the Pima County Community Prevention Coalition in 2007. Through the Arizona Strategic Prevention Framework State Initiative Grant, through which many collaborative partnerships advance youth substance misuse prevention efforts across Pima County. Ms. Bass serves as the Director and Primary Grant Writer for the CPC, the Amount Community Alliance, and Estafet coalitions. Ms. Bass also serves as an L instructor and associate of professor for the ASU School of Social Work. Ms. Bass believes that trauma-informed, data-driven prevention strategies, which are facilitated through community-based collaborations, are the most effective for creating sustainable community-level change. Ms. Bass.
You know, you've been doing this work for a long time. We have to get help getting up the stairs. So, thank you, Doyle. As Doyle said, my name is Amy Bass. I am really honored, pleased to be here, and thank you all for showing up and turning out. I've noticed since we got out of COVID, everything, I love it because everybody's more human. Everybody is like come to the awareness that we're all human and we all need support. So thank you for coming out to support the people that we serve and that we work with. I want to say in particular, thank you, Doyle. You are an amazing MC. Anybody who has worked with nonprofits knows how hard we work and how sometimes everything is so last minute. And Doyle always just rises to the occasion and comes out shining. And so thank you for being our MC today. And Doyle is accredited with coming up with our theme this year, prevention at every intercept. And I love it because we are all about prevention, Community Prevention Coalition. And at the time we started the Community Prevention Coalition, I remember that it was first named Community Expansion Coalition. And so I think that's its nickname because it keeps expanding. But at the time, it was a long time ago, Tiger Verde was trying to annex. And so everybody was focused on expanding and annexing and all that. And he said, no, we can't call it the Expansion Coalition. We're going to call it the Prevention Coalition. And little did I know that we were going to grow to be such a formidable part of this opioid epidemic and this issue, keeping kids from starting underage drinking and the marijuana and now the vaping. And you know, the drugs just keep rolling and changing, but really at the root of it, we look at, excuse me, how do we prevent these kids from starting in the first place? And so working with families, working with communities, we work across all of the CADCA, SAMHSA 12 sectors. It's like naming the reindeer. I never get them all, but the media, the parents, the businesses, the youth, the schools, the health organizations, the law enforcement, social media, and of course I forgot the rest of them, so yeah. But I want to say also thank you to Kara Crosby from the King County Attorney's Office, who is serving as our timekeeper today, the most important job of the day. And Kara is our chair for the CPC, so let's give her a applause. I want to thank, of course, Dr. Arnold and PEP, who took us on when it was 2016, and the organization that I work for unfortunately went closed, and we were looking for a home, and we found a really good home. PEP has been amazing. Dr. Arnold is, I would say, the most humanitarian person I have ever met. The man that travels the earth, and I mean that, travels the earth good for people that need it most. And he never micromanages us. He just makes sure that we do what we're supposed to do with that positive behavior reinforcement that we instill in everything we do. And he is the role model for us, just always doing good and doing to the best of his abilities. And that's what he expects out of us at PEP. And so with that, I just want to say, I have to just give a couple of shout outs. The Community Prevention Coalition has the Be Free Pima Youth Coalition, and we work really hard to support our youth, helping them with their social emotional competencies, their goal setting, their self-esteem, their just their coping skills, and right now we know that is needed so much. Adults, a lot of us have had this. A lot of us have the ability to kind of recollect after things happen to us. Where do teenagers get that from? They get it from their support systems, but if their support systems are struggling, where do they go? We are training youth to find that within themselves, and that's what our programming is all about. And so the Be Free Pima, we are funded by grants, and those of you that understand grants know that they won't pay for some of the things that teenagers need most, which is food. We all remember if you raise teenagers, you're wondering where all your food goes. And the grants don't pay for that, and also some fun stuff over the summer. So we've got the Amato Youth Alliance down in Amato, and we have our Amato Coalition here, and we have our Be Free Pima, the Tucson group and South Tucson group over next to them. So we are selling the t-shirts. Kate in the back of the room, if you could raise your hand. Kate is the one that worked with the youth and D.W. McGarity. So be a hero, carry Narcan. And if you buy those shirts, they're $20. $10 is going to go to help support our Be Free Pima youth program. So please buy a shirt, be a hero, carry Narcan. We're going to hear more about that today. Excuse me. Okay. So I want to say just in general, thank you to all our sponsors. We could not put this on without our sponsors. This funds itself, so thank you for showing up. Thank you to our vendors. We have vendors inside, and we have so many vendors. We also have vendors outside the doors. And just to drop this, at about 10 minutes of 12, all our indoor vendors are going to get up quietly and go out, and we've given them the little flip styrofoam boxes so they can get lunch and actually eat, and then everybody else will be excused to go get lunch. So if you see the vendors making a mad dash for the door for lunch, I just want to put that out there so they don't feel awkward. We want them to get food today too, so thank you to all our vendors inside and out. All right, real quick, we work with so many partners, so many collaborators, and one of our collaborators, yeah, I'm going to take more than 1 minute. I think I'm the only speaker that saw you, but I will try to make it quick. So one of our partners that we work with, we couldn't do without. They've been supporting us for a really long time, both through our Tucson programs and also with our Amato Youth Center, and that is the Pima County Health Department. And it's my understanding we have Brian Eller here today somewhere. Brian. Okay, come on up and let us give you the plaque. Brian, where are you? Somebody's pointing at you. There you are. And Brian's going to be speaking in a little bit, so we'll just give you the plaque. Okay, next, we want to thank the governor's office. The governor's office could not be here. Our major sponsor, funders, SAMHSA, and also the governor's office of Arizona. And our governor, Katie Hobbs, wished she could be here, but she did send us a 2-minute video. So we're going to go ahead and play that for you now, or in a minute. Hi. Okay, while they're doing that, I'm going to mention a couple other things. Doyle mentioned that, Eddie mentioned that Ed isn't here from D.W. McGarity, but we have his other half, Karen McGarity, who's been out there running the registration, and they work with us as our media advisors. And worked with Renee Pacheco from COPE to do your lovely program. And so we want to thank them. And also, we have Maritza Higuera and also Egado Munoz, who are here from the Santa Cruz County Public Media, who are taking some videos and some pictures. And Maritza recently joined the PEP board, so we're really excited. Maritza has her nutrition certificate from Stanford, and we just got a grant from the food bank. And so she'll be coming out to work with our Amato kids on some nutrition projects. And she has 2 books recognizing fire heroes. Her husband is a firefighter, thank you very much. And also, If I Eat My Fruits and Vegetables. So Maritza is probably roaming, there she is. So thank you for being here for our meeting. What? I can't hear you. Okay, so we're gonna need the IT person, so we're gonna save the governor for lunchtime, does that work? Okay, great, we have a little time at lunch, we'll do the governor then. And then, we couldn't do this without our staff and our committee members, so we have something really special for them, and I'm gonna call out their names, and then if you guys can get these, if you're here, and if not, we will give them to you later. But these are, it says most valuable team member, and I want to just call out their names. So we have Audrey Davis, who is our Mapping Symposium Planning Committee Chair. And Audrey, you actually have to stay up here for a minute. So here's your medallion. And also we have our coordinator for the CPC, who coordinated the symposium today, and that is Kate Meyer. And then we have Alice Strait, who is from Banner. Alice, if you're here. Anna Wilkins, who is an ASU graduating intern. And Alice actually just came back from Atlanta at the RX Summit with us, so we're really pleased to have Alice on board for the Mapping Symposium. We also have Desiree Borjeski. Desiree, are you here? Thank you, Desiree. Paulina Ruiz, another ASU intern, also graduated. Thank you, Desiree. Desiree has also traveled with us. That's a perk if you join the Mapping Symposium Planning Committee and you file for a scholarship. Sometimes we will send 4 or 5 people to Atlanta, so join the committee. We also have yesterday was Administrative Assistance Day, so thank you to all the administrative assistants. And Irene Cooper, I don't know if you're in the room, we couldn't do it without you. We also have Ed, who couldn't be here, but Karen, I see in the back, Karen McGarry, who is always carrying 40 different roles and tasks. Karen, you want to come and get your medallion? Karen's so shy. Karen helps us with everything. Kenya Uber, Casey, I know you're here, you're in the house. You have to hurry. It's the only time we get to run today.
And Casey just came back from Atlanta, and he was our social media guy. He was in charge of all the selfies.
Thank you all for coming.
She said, let's not do that.
See, they watch out for me. She knows I did fall off the stage one year. Okay. Also, we have Stephanie Ortega, who just joined our staff team. And Stephanie is going to be doing a raffle in a little bit. Mariah Romero, who couldn't be here, she is becoming a respiratory therapist. And then we have Tiffany Jones from Pima County One Stop. Tiffany. Of course, Joel Morrison. And we have Nora Powers from Hope Incorporated. Leah Morales, Pima County Health Department. And then we have Lisa Teachea from the partnership. Lisa wants me to fall off the stage. We go back.
I'm gonna get down. You have some awesome
All right, so we did that, and then Kate disappeared. Kate, where are you? Okay, you have to come back up here. I have to do this really quick, but we couldn't do what we do without Kate. Kate is our quiet force behind the CPC. Kate came on board in 2016. I was in a meeting, a community meeting, and Kate didn't talk. She was sitting in this meeting, and she didn't talk, and there was something about her spiritually that intrigued me, and I was like, I have to know this woman. And then finally at the end of the meeting, she opened her mouth and talked, and I don't remember what she said, but it was brilliant. And I'm like, I want to hire her. And it was perfect timing in her career life, so I'm gonna cry. It was amazing to bring Kate on. She balances me because I'm super hyper, I don't know if you noticed, and Kate is very chill. And when I'm like kind of a mess, Kate has everything under control, and I come to her and I'm like, Kate, ah! She goes, I know. And I'm like, that's great. So we make a great team, and I just want to thank you so much. I couldn't do what I do without you. You're the wind beneath my wings, and we have a plaque for you. She said, hurry up, baby. Okay. And then this year and last year, Audrey Davis from TMC stepped up to be our Mavic Symposium Planning Committee Chair. And you would not believe how many things Audrey has to keep up with and keep on us all to get this done. And having an RN on our opioid prevention planning team has been so valuable. And I just want to thank you because now I really understand the world wouldn't run without nurses, so let's give Audrey a round of applause. Audrey does have something to say, and I'm going to get down, but she's going to be really quick, and then we'll move on with the rest of our program. Thank you, everybody.
I actually have a slide also, I just wanted to take a second to say thank you personally to all of you who took time out of your day to come spend the day with us. I think we have a really great day planned for everybody. Nobody's standing up here saying thank you to Amy. Amy does so much in her life and for the CPC and for PEP and for all the things and to make sure everything goes smoothly during our trips to Atlanta and to keep us all headed in the right direction to get the symposium together. So, thank you, Amy. I also just wanted to take a couple of minutes, and there's probably several of you in this room, many of you who have had the opportunity to meet, interact with, work with Dr. Dickinson over the years. At TMC, he impacted our lives greatly, our staff, our physicians, our patients, in his life's work in addiction medicine, and he just elevated our care with patients that are suffering from SUD. So at TMC, we have created an annual award in honor of his life and his work, and we every year would like to honor somebody in the field who's doing similar dedication or similar work. So we need nominees in order to award this. We provide an award for somebody to use for educational purposes. There's a QR code up here. We didn't have the forethought to print the QR codes and put them on the tables, but we do have a paper copy for anybody who's interested. And Sue Thompson is here. She's our opioid stewardship pharmacist. And she actually will have the ability to get you guys the QR code should you need it. All right, so thank you, Sue, for coming. Thank you for everybody for coming, and I hope you have a great day today.
All right. So, as you see, we've had several individuals that just behind the scenes made this all possible. Can we just give them all another round of applause? All right. So, our next guest or presenter is going to be Dr. Nabi. Dr. Nabi received his Bachelor of Science in Biology from the University of Texas, El Paso. He went on to medical school at Universidad Autónoma de Guadalajara, Jalisco, Mexico. I hope I didn't miss that. He received a certificate of fifth pathway consultation with the New York Medical College, New York. He then completed his internship in internal medicine, Mount Sinai School of Medicine, and continued on to a residency in anesthesiology at Texas Tech University, El Paso. Before transferring to the University of Arizona, Dr. Nabi then went on to complete a pain medicine fellowship at Albert Einstein College of Medicine, Beth Israel Hospital. He has the position of assistant professor at the Department of Anesthesiology and the director of chronic pain management at the University of Arizona for 7 years. Dr. Nabi is presently serving as the chief medical officer at Pima Pain Center. There we go.
Thank you, sir.
This is for you, sir. Appreciate you.
All right, allergies out. So, luckily I have been blessed with, you can ask my wife, a very high tone in my voice. So if you can't hear me, I want you to go to the audiologist because you probably have a problem with your ears. Thank you, Amy, for allowing me to come and present. For those of you old enough in the room, which is probably most of you, I've been tasked with trying to wrap up the opioid epidemic with pain management and why we have the problem that we have. So because we have been running a little bit late, I'm going to turn into the micro machine guy, and I'm going to say, thank you, and I'm going to leave the stage. But what I want to do is I want to first explain why are we really here, okay? So opioid use disorder, we've all heard of this term, substance use disorder, opioid use disorder, and essentially I want to just explain over a 20-year career clinically taking care of patients, we have seen in pain management cyclical changes in pain management, and when I first started it was ultra conservative, providers not writing any medications and withholding care to a lot of patients. About every 6 years, 6 to 10 years, that changes, and about 6 years after I started practicing, it became very, very liberal, and kind of everyone was getting whatever they wanted, including, concomitant benzodiazepines, barbiturates, opiates, and let's go ahead and start illicit substances as well. Over the past 6 years, it has become more conservative, and for those of you who can't smell the blood in the water, because of some of the changes that we're making currently, we're tending to let down our barriers, and we have, I'm not going to say extremely liberal medication writing, but it has started to relax a little bit so that we can actually start to take care of patients. So I, up here, am going to give you both sides of the spectrum. I'm going to be the conservative physician, the conservative person, and I'm going to be the very liberal person. And I want each and every one of you, although you may not be a patient, I'm sure the majority of people in here do have pain management. So what I'd like you to do is I'd like you, during this conversation, to go ahead and place your feet or your shoes in the shoes of a patient who is needing pain management. Those cyclical changes have left changes, as I explained, into the discretion of the prescribing provider. I can be extremely conservative, I can be extremely liberal, and there are changes and disadvantages and advantages to both.
that discretion has caused disparity amongst patient populations, which we'll get into. The definition of opioid use disorder has also caused disparity amongst prescribing providers. And you're going to see that in a short second. So let's look at the American Psychological Association, the APA. The definition of opioid use disorder: chronic use of opioids that cause clinically significant distress or impairment. Distress or impairment with the chronic use of opioids. Those symptoms of the disease including overpowering desire to use opioids, increased opioid tolerance, and withdrawal syndrome when opioids are discontinued. Now, each and every one of you, who I'm sure has had pain once or twice in their life. Let's go ahead and put ourselves in the shoes of a typical patient. Each and every one of you can sprain their arm, their elbow, their knee, stub their toe, hurt themselves with a fall, or just have generalized back pain, neck pain, or for those of you who have kids, probably a pain in the you-know-what. Okay? So, I have pain. Well, I think it's going to go away. Let me use Tylenol, Motrin, ice, herbal medications, turmeric, whatever you feel. Okay? It doesn't go away. And I finally need to go to urgent care or my primary care physician. Unfortunately, it takes months to get into a primary care office. So over that time period, pain, 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 and really a lot of unneeded suffering. When I do get into the primary care physician, if I am in the shoes of a patient, what do the primary care physicians usually, or primary care providers, what usually happens? Well, let's go ahead and get some imaging, let's do some physical therapy, let me give you 800 milligram Motrin, because that is prescription strength. Instead of you taking 200 milligrams over the counter, I'm going to be good and I'm going to give you an 800 milligram, because I'm doing something about pain, right? And the 800 milligram ibuprofen doesn't work, so now let me start gabapentin and amitriptyline, and every medication other than an opioid to ensure that I am the conservative provider that is not going to cause a problem in our community and in every community across this country that has an opioid problem. Because we're all here because there's an opioid epidemic, right? So, that patient then gets their physical therapy, gets their imaging, gets their gabapentin, nothing works. And eventually, the provider, if they do have a heart, and they may not be conservative or ultra-liberal, but then a medication is started, Tylenol, codeine, Vicodin, Percocet, what have you. After months of this going on, they finally explain that, you know what, I'm a little bit uncomfortable, let me go ahead and send you off to pain management and let the pain management expert deal with this. Okay? The pain management expert, because we need X, Y, and Z protocols, we need to check, checks and balances to make sure that we're doing appropriate measures to prevent a problem in our community, here and across the country, and globally for that matter. What do? We say, well, you should really do this, you should really do that, and a star is born. And that star is a patient. Okay? We can reduce medications, we can change them, send them to surgeons, we can do unnecessary things. We need to then take a step back and say, what are we doing for this patient? Well, let's go back to APA. The chronic use of opioids. At that point, when pain management, or even when primary care providers deal with that patient, they have already started chronic use of these opioids. Okay? Now, let's look at the definition. They cause clinically significant distress or impairment. Well, if I was over here and I had a pill bottle open and there was pills all over the table and I was snoring because I didn't sleep because I was preparing for this talk today, you'd say, oh my God, this guy's impaired. Okay? That's easy. But when I deal with patients, and when anyone deals with patients who are community members or loved ones or sons or daughters, uncles, brothers, fathers, mothers, it becomes a lot harder to check those patients and say, is there a problem? That impairment's easy. But again, in the definition, distress. If a patient, your mother, your father, your sister, your brother, your son, or your daughter, okay, have been dealing with pain for quite some time, Do you feel, because of all of the hoops that the patient needs to go through, do you feel that there may be, do you feel that there may be some distress to know that Dr. Anabi is going to cut your medicine because they're very, very bad. They cause problems in the community. Well, that could cause some distress, and it usually does in the majority of our patients, unless we are not educating appropriately. Okay? Put yourselves in the shoes of your patients, of your loved ones. Okay? So, symptoms include overpowering desire to use opioids. If you had a broken back, a compression fracture, a sprained ankle, whatever it is, do you feel that there would be an overwhelming desire to use a medicine that may work? That doesn't mean you need to be on that medication for the rest of your life. There are other modalities, other things. But should you be judged from the jump to say, well, I don't know, I don't want to cause a problem in the community or a problem with aberrant drug use? That would cause, and does cause, a good amount of stress and impairment, or a good amount of stress. So, the desire to use opioids. Increased opioid tolerance. What is the definition? There are multiple definitions of opioid tolerance, but basically, it's 7 to 10 days of chronic usage. 7 to 10 days. When we took a step back and we actually said, well, this patient has gone to primary care, then they've gone to pain management. It takes 2 months to get into primary care. It takes 6 months to get into pain management. They have already been, by definition, on a medication for 7 to 10 days. So you, all the way back down in the corner, if I put you on a medicine for 7 or 10 days, including a non-steroidal anti-inflammatory, by definition, you have become tolerant to that medication. So when I abruptly stop it, you're going to have some type of withdrawal offense. That's the definition, folks. Withdrawal syndrome when opioids are discontinued. Okay? So the definition already is counterintuitive to how we actually deal with these patients. Now think about it. That's the definition. When we have patients that are being treated for pain, essentially the APA has already come up with this statement. Now, let me turn myself back and say I'm ultra-conservative or ultra-liberal. I can use this definition to substantiate whatever I want to do and however I want to treat. So it always goes back to the provider to be able to risk stratify a patient to make sure that we're doing the right thing for them. Now, this is the American Psychological Association. For those of you who don't know, the DSM-5 is basically the Bible, the Holy Grail. Okay? What is the opioid use disorder defined by the DSM? Defined as repeated opioid use within 12 months. Looking at the previous example, we know that the patient has been on for more than 12 months. Leading to problems or distress with 2 or more of the following. 2 or more of the following. Before I go to this chart, I want to let each and every one of you know. Ultra-conservative, ultra-liberal. I write, I don't write. I can substantiate whatever I do. Whether you're on a medication, whether you have pain, or whether you don't. Let's take a look at the definition. 2, because I guarantee you, whether you're on a medication, whether you aren't, whether you're judging a person because they're on a medicine or they're not, let's take a step back because I guarantee you, each and every one of you has at least 6 of these problems. If you've even been given 1 Tylenol with coke, 1 Tramadol. So I don't know if you can see this, but you do have a printout, and I will speed up just a little bit. Opioids are often taken in larger amounts or over a longer period than was intended. Well, you got to me in a pain management office. I'm ultra-conservative. You've been on this with your primary care provider for months. Well, that's too long. I wouldn't intend to keep you on medication for 2 months because of a sprained ankle, even though now you may have complex regional pain syndrome. There's check 1. Automatically, that's 1 strike against you. Over here on this side, you can see the presence of at least 2 indicate opioid use disorder. Every single provider, every single patient, every single loved one community member has more than 2 of these. Okay, this is the definition, the Holy Grail, the Holy Bible, of what we utilize to either substantiate or not substantiate treating a patient. And this will be very important as I speak later in the presentation. There's a persistent desire or unsuccessful efforts to cut down on or control use. So unsuccessful efforts, as a provider, I say, listen, why don't we go ahead and try reducing this and utilizing that? Increasing a gabapentin dose or a lyric dose or a amitriptyline. There's strike 2. A great deal of time is spent in activities necessary to obtain the opioid. Well, if you come to, or if you've ever been to a pain management clinic, if you're written opioids, you need to go to that office every single month for a Schedule II medication. Every month. Well, in my opinion, if I'm ultra conservative, that automatically puts you into harm's way because you're unnecessarily going to above and beyond what is normal to go to the office. You go to your primary care physician for an annual checkup, for a general well check, for diabetes, hypertension. You're not going every month, but now you need to present for your drug screens, we need to pull prescription monitoring programs, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. They're strike 3, okay? Craving or strong desire to use opioids. Craving or strong desire to use opioids. I have pain. That gives me a strong desire to take what I perceive as helping me. Analgesia. That's the whole grail, right? There's strike 4. Continued opioid use despite having persistent or recurrent social or interpersonal problems. Very difficult for someone who's spending smaller amounts of time with a patient. There's a lot of social workers who can get that information. So I'm not even going to comment on that. Important social, occupational, recreational activities are given up or reduced because of opioid use. Again, I'm conservative or liberal. I choose, right? So when a patient comes to me and they explain, I cannot self-care. I don't take long walks. I don't go to the store like I used to. Well, I can say, well, that's because of the opioids. Strike 4 or 5. Okay? Recurrent opioid use in situations in which physically hazardous. I know that there's a police officer here that's been on the job for 20 plus years. In the state of Arizona, if you take a Tylenol codeine, if you take a Percocet, and you're pulled over, you are driving under the influence. Reckless, hazardous, strike 5 or 6. Continued use despite knowledge of persistent recurrent physical or psychological problem. Tolerance, we've already discussed it. Anyone who's been on for 7 to 10 days, they're tolerant. Withdrawal, okay? You know, when you get off and you are tolerant, you're going to have shivers, blue-like symptoms. That's 6, 7, 8. Each and every one of you, you're probably not even on a medicine. You all have severe opioid use disorder. All of you. I consider all of you my friends, my colleagues, my community members, and I don't think so personally. That doesn't mean I'm ultra liberal. It also doesn't mean that I'm ultra conservative. But this is food for thought, because this is what providers like myself, it's the only thing we have to substantiate our care with, let's start throwing out some acronyms. The DEA, the CDC, the NIH, every single Arizona Medical Board, the Nursing Board, everything. That's the only thing we got. So it is difficult. So, the overdose report, and I'm going to go through this quickly because you do have the slides. The report outlines we have done some really, really, really great things. But did it translate to better outcomes? That's the conundrum that we have right now. Did it translate to a better outcome? Well, we'll see. Why the disparity? You can look at this. This is from 2010. It kind of shows you the cyclical change. You can read that on your own. Let's take a look. We as providers have done a great job. Great job. Look at this. 50% decrease in opioid prescriptions from 2012 to 2022. Over 10 years, we have cut 50% of all opioid prescriptions. Awesome. Did we call? Well, I don't know, Amy. Is it? Is it? We're going to see. Don't clap yet. Okay? Well, no. You never know what you're going to get with me. Okay? Did I throw you a bone or did I actually trap you? Okay, let's see. So the bottom line is, what were we told as providers? You guys are the ones that are fueling this opioid crisis. Reduce your medicine. And we did. Increase by 200% over 4 years. 200% of PDMP usage, so we know who's getting what from who, from where, how many. Okay? 200% increase in naloxone dispensed. We're going to keep the patients safe. We did an excellent job. Did we? Here we go. 2022, 50% decrease in opioid prescriptions. What happened to the overdose rate? It increased. So although we like to think that we did a really great job, didn't we? And unless we as a group together brainstorm and figure out what is working, what isn't, we're not going to make a dent in this problem because we really don't know what the problem is yet. We need to be good community members, good providers, good social workers, good EMT, good across the board people in our community to see what works and what doesn't. So we can see here quickly, we were talking about at-risk children, or what I like to call children, 15 to 34, because I've been practicing, I guess, a little too much. Male, okay, is more than female. So we see across the board, overdose rates are higher in men than they are in women. And we see that overdose rates are higher in older age population, in men and women, than their younger counterparts. And we can see a breakdown here: American Indian and Alaska Natives, Black, Hispanic, and white are the overwhelming majority, okay, across all spectrums. And the bottom line is, this is what we need to look at to see how can we make a change. Naloxone prescriptions, okay, from community pharmacists, they have gone up. Do I think that it works? Do I think that it helps? It does. But for all of the Narcan people at your booth, you can deliver Narcan. In our centers, if you are written an opioid, you must pick up a Narcan. How many times each and every day when I'm seeing a patient, do I explain, do you have Narcan at home? Yes, I have Narcan. Do you know how to use it? That was silence in case you didn't realize. First and foremost, the Narcan. Patients absolutely refuse. I don't need Narcan. I've been on this for 25 years. I've never had a problem. 10 minutes, got it. I never had a problem. I understand that, but as we age, and as an anesthesiologist, I can go over every body system, the lungs, the heart, the kidneys, that tell you you are, every day that you breathe, have an increased risk of respiratory depression, respiratory complaints, cardiovascular, that can only be compounded with an opioid. Add that with the wrong corona, the wrong UTI, the wrong kidney infection, you sleep at night, you obstruct, and you are a statistic. So it is not just the opioid, it's not just the concomitant use of alcohol, marijuana, and the opioid, and the benzodiazepine, and everything else we like to polypharmacy to patients. It is the fact that patients aren't educated. Now let's continue that education. Yes, I have my Narcan. You listen, because you know what? I said, as a ultra-conservative provider, I'm not going to give you that opioid unless you get the Narcan. They take the Narcan. Do you know how to use it? Not really. And what I explain to patients is exactly what I explained to you, but I also explain the fact that a Narcan is nothing more than a fire extinguisher. Each and every one of us, maybe not each and every one of us, but I happen to cook at home. I've never had a fire, thankfully. That doesn't mean that I may not. It is nothing more than having a fire extinguisher at home. And what I explain to patients is, essentially, I may have a fire extinguisher, I don't know where it is. It's in this closet, it's in that closet. And once I get it, you gotta deploy this, you gotta pull this pin, you gotta hold this down, you gotta do. I burnt up. It is a temporizing measure or treatment that helps us to get true help on their way. Shout out to that table over there. Woo. So, problems. We know that all of these programs do work. We said, okay, we reduced medicine, we reduced this, we reduced that, we increased this. Let's take a look. So, 3 million of 43.7 million, 93%. People with an illicit drug or alcohol use disorder received treatment in the past year. 3 million people with this disorder received treatment. 93% of at-risk patients, at-risk community members, mothers, fathers, sisters, daughters. They were recognized as having a problem, but they could not continue into a treatment program. That's really what I think is lacking right now, and this is the reason why I think that this forum is one of the most important in healthcare. 2 million of 5 million adolescents, 12 to 17, with a past year major depressive episode received treatment for depression. We know that it happens, yet 60%, the majority, do not receive treatment. Less than half of the almost 60 million adults aged 18 or older with a mental illness received treatment. Again, the majority did not receive treatment. So we can reduce medications, we can reduce prescriptions, we can increase PDMP, we can increase all of these things. And I do think, back to Amy's point, I didn't want to really knock the wind out of her sails, but I do agree that those measures do help. However, there are other things that we are lacking. So, buprenorphine prescriptions, there's buprenorphine back there, they have gone up. Okay, total opioid treatment programs have gone up. All of these things are helping. So 2023, 22 to 23 federal updates, CDC issued a new prescribing guideline so that a provider like me doesn't need to be so scared about actually treating pain. X-waiver requirement eliminated. FDA makes naloxone over the counter. DEA extends prescribing controlled substances via telehealth. Uh-oh, I personally do not like this one, but that's a different talk. MATE Act requires substance use disorder education. Naloxone in schools, public settings. Naloxone access law. Sterile needle syringe service programs. They reduce HIV and intractable diseases, HIV and HCV. They are more than just needle exchanges. They do give naloxone as well. They're a trusted resource, bridge to some of the community programs that we have even present today. Overdose prevention sites, public health strategy, it's important. They save lives, they increase access to health services, reduce public. Stakeholder collaboration, this is what I was explaining. It's every single one of us, not just the doctor, not just the nurse practitioner, not just the provider. It's everyone in this office everyone in this forum, in this hall, that makes a difference. If you feel that you're not making a difference, believe me, you are. It takes a family. It takes a tribe. So these are the recommendations. You can read them on your own. So transitioning to clinical practice, pre-visit, what do we do? The detailed intake and inventory, pertinent outside medical records, PNP, appropriate imaging, health history, form social history, and social determinants of health are extremely important. And opioid risk tool, we utilize these things to risk stratify patients. Because we do risk stratify, it doesn't necessarily mean that you get or you don't. Because remember, my definition that I hold my license on is skewed. 2, yet each and every one of us has more than 6 of those, right? So the bottom line is we need to take each an individual patient and we need to utilize everything in all of our education in order to make sure that they are taken care of. Because if they aren't, what I feel and I fear is the fact that these are the people who are basically thrown out of all of the programs, and they are the ones most at risk to cause a problem, okay? Or to have a problem, not necessarily cause a problem. Transitioning to clinical care, the actual visit, detailed history, physical exam, urine drug screen. Recipe. So a recipe. Pain management, what I explain to patients, is pain management is not a medicine alone. It's not an injection alone. It's not social work alone. It's not an image alone. It's the whole recipe of what we do for a patient in order to make sure that we strive for analgesia and success. Okay? Anyone who can tell you, I can cure a patient with a morphine alone or with an injection alone is lying. Okay? Expectations are very important. I understand that certain patients may tolerate a higher medicine value, but if I am restricted, because even by my standards, and I consider myself kind of middle of the row, maybe a little bit higher than middle, okay, there's still some doses that just scare me. So, 10 years ago when we started Pima Pain Center, there was a rash of 15, that's where I'm at the DEA, 15 offices that had been shut down, closed, license revoked. Go to Phoenix and surrender your medical license. There were thousands of patients that were on 1,000 milliequivalents. Actually, the highest that we saw was 5,000 milliequivalents of morphine per day. Sue's over there. Hey, Sue. Yeah. So the bottom line is, that's where I'm at the DEA. And I said, okay, listen, if I treat these patients and I get them down to an acceptable level, am I going to lose my license like those 10 other people? And basically, I'm still practicing, so I guess we did something correct. Okay? So expectations are important, exit strategy are important. I think one of the most important things is the fact that we do in our offices, we do have physical therapy, we do have imaging, we do have addictionology, which is probably the most important thing in a pain clinic, is to have an internal addiction specialist. Now, our addictionologist is no Len Vincent, but I mean, anyone is better than nothing. And unfortunately, with pain centers, it's a very costly endeavor, but it's an endeavor that we have to task ourselves with. Okay, so obviously, those internal people, we also have referral patterns set up for more extensive OTPs like Therapeutic Community Medical Services. So with all of that being said, 30 seconds. 5 seconds. 2 seconds. Conclusion. It's self-explanatory. Okay, we are dealing with a moving target, and unless we continue to utilize all of our resources around us, I don't think we will ever be rid of the epidemic that we have on our hands. Thank you very much. I want to be next to this good-looking guy.
All right. Thank you, sir. All right, one more time, let's give another round of applause. All right, next up, we're going to talk about what all starts with you. We have Brian Eller. Brian has worked in the field of public health for over 15 years, since 2021. He served as a school liaison for the Arizona Department of Health Services. In that role, he managed large federal grants, tracked relevant public policy issues, monitored data, oversaw training efforts, and collaborated with other state agencies and community partners to help improve health outcomes for youth in Arizona schools. Previously, he has worked for the Pima County Health Department as a program manager and program coordinator. At the Pima County Health Department, he helped lead key efforts related to emergency response during the pandemic. He also helped lead health prevention and promotion efforts, managed grants and staff, oversaw budgets and contracts, and worked effectively with community partners. Additional experience includes serving as an elementary school teacher and serving on the boards of Casadelos News, Boys to Men, and the Metropolitan Education Commission. Brian's career has been focused on addressing trauma and systems of oppression and symbiotic. I would be so much for being an elementary school teacher. You did such a, all right.
little short today, just to kind of respect everyone's time. Thank you all for being here. I just want to kind of claim
Check, 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 check.
Thank you, everyone that continues to watch us here. We're at the 7th Annual Southern Arizona Opioid Misuse Prevention Symposium. This is great informational symposium by Pep and Dr. Arnold. They put together along with amazing leaders on our community. And I had the pleasure to be on your presentation, Dr. Anabi. Dr. Anabi has amazing background in school and medicine, and now hearing the presentation about opioid misuse, about Narcan, about all this presentation that you provide to us, how we need to integrate our community, get to know more about pain, get to know more about medication, and how all this important community plays a great role here. EMTs, firefighters, doctors, and our community outside. It was great. It was great to listen to you in a very a self-explanatory way. And thank you for being with us. We appreciate you here. And I just find out that you are also going in Santa Cruz County and provide information for us for your community. So it's a pleasure to meet you and welcome to We Love Nogales to Santa Cruz County Public Media, Dr. Anabi.
The pleasure is mine. Thank you so much. So, first and foremost, I would like to thank PPEP as well as CPC for inviting me to this symposium. It is in my opinion, my humble opinion, it's very, very important. And the reason why is because we are faced with problems in our community, and those, not just our community, but really nationally and globally, there is a problem. And I think part of that problem is the lack of education, the lack of education of providers, of programs, as well as patients and community members. And to steal uh, a saying from inside the symposium, it takes a village, and it really does take a village in order to continue to make sure that we're educating um, our loved ones around us. Briefly, I was speaking about pain management and the difficulties that we have in trying to take care of patients. And there seemed to have been quite a bit of disconnect within our offices about the utilization of Narcan. And what I explained to patients, community members, physicians, and everyone in the community is that Narcan is nothing more than a very fancy fire extinguisher. As I've explained before, um, we all cook, or at least I try to. And ultimately, although I do cook, I've never had a fire in my kitchen, thankfully. If I did, however, it would be very important to not only know where the fire extinguisher was, but also how to utilize it. And medication usage and pain management is kind of synonymous with opioid use disorder and opioid overdose. And for the majority, the overwhelming majority of our patients, and the patients, again, around the country, there seems to be a disconnect with the fact that, well, as a patient, I've been on a certain medication or I've been treated appropriately for decades. And that's not necessarily the problem. What I was explaining was the fact that essentially having a fire extinguisher or something that could potentially reverse the respiratory effects of a medication in conjunction with a series of unfortunate events like the coronavirus, like a urinary tract infection, like the wrong obstruction when we sleep and potentially causing problems with respirations, having a life-saving or potentially life-saving Narcan could be the difference between life and death, literally. So I think it's important to make sure that we educate everyone around us, not just the patient that may be on a medication or not, but just a concerned citizen in Santa Cruz County or Pima County or any county across this country or across this world. That if you do have something as simple as a Narcan pen or a Narcan administrator, you could be the difference between life and death, literally. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Navi. Thank you for your words. And I noticed on your background of school background, ¿habla un poquito de español o mucho español?
Ah, pues depende. Pero gracias. Sí, estudió en México, en Guadalajara.
Así.
Entonces sí hablo español.
Sí, lo vimos y sé que hace trabajo en condados de Santa Cruz. ¿Cómo lo pudiéramos encontrar en Santa Cruz County?
Ya puedes ir al internet o al web. Estamos en Pima Pain Center.
Pima Pain Center. Dr. Navi, Dr. Navi, it's an honor for us to be here with you. Thank you for sharing this very informational background knowledge for our community. And because as you're sharing, we will be getting this knowledge to make a difference on our community and around wherever we're at. So thank you. We
El placer,
appreciate your time.
el placer fue
Muchas
mío.
gracias. Gracias. Hasta luego. Y seguiremos aquí en el Symposium número 7, traído por PEP, traído por Dr. Arnold y traído por Community Prevention Coalition. Seguimos, nos vemos en un rato. Gracias. Hi everyone, we're back. And before we end our live transmission for our seventh annual Southern Arizona Opioid Misuse Prevention Symposium, I would like to show you all the different agencies that are around here, also providing information for our guests, for our speakers, for our communities. As you can see, there's like Community Prevention Coalition, Bright View. There's different agencies, very informational. And I would like to stop here at the University of Arizona table, and the amazing girls here are going to share with us some really good information and resources that they have about the different the different events that they're providing for families and for everyone to enroll. And I heard that people from both of countries can also participate. If you're close, if you live around in Mexico area or in the United States, you can also participate. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us. And if you can share a little bit about your information, thank you.
So hi, I'm Bianca Santamaria and I work for the University of Arizona Center for Rural Health on the Overdose Data to Action grant. This grant focuses on minimizing the deaths of overdoses in the state of Arizona. So we have a variety of projects that we're embarking on. One of them is that we provide naloxone training to health professionals, community health workers, as well as other community agencies on how to recognize, how to administer naloxone and a little bit of everything, whether it be on ACEs, on traumatic experience that might lead to substance use. And we provide them at the organizations or online. We're also embarking on another project in which we're going to be working with the hospitals on having them implement certain guidelines to kind of bring up an alert if a patient is at risk for an opioid overdose or has been involved in that. I'll let my colleague Maria talk a little bit more about it.
Good morning. My name is Maria Lozoya. I am from Nogales also. I'm so happy to be here. And one of the things we are focused also is in the rural communities. We work in all the states, but more focused in rural communities in the border. And we do presentations how prevent overdose. And our work is to go directly with the organizations they already work in, partner with them, don't duplicate the services, and we are here to provide more support to other programs also. And our goal is to prevent overdoses on all the states. And we are very happy to be here and be part of this coalition where we learn a lot from other partners. Thank you very much.
Muchas gracias y muchas gracias por el trabajo que proveen también para las familias en diferentes condados, porque sabemos que la Universidad de Arizona tiene estos researches también en diferentes partes y para incluye a todas las personas que puedan calificar para los diferentes programas de research, ¿verdad? Así que, ¿dónde pudiéramos conseguir la información? Aquí las veo en papel, pero ¿hay algún website donde pudiéramos encontrar esa información?
Sí, tenemos un website donde puede encontrar la información de este programa y varios otros que existen. El website va al Center for Rural Health y allí específicamente va a haber una sección donde puede escoger las diferentes programas, pero el website es dentro de la Universidad de Arizona, el Colegio de Salud Pública del Centro Rural de Arizona. Y lo quería mencionar algo, en este proyecto hicimos un magnet que específicamente es lo más para si encuentras a alguien que está teniendo una sobredosis. Aquí te dan los pasos bien cortos, rápido, para que puedas administrar naloxone para salvarle la vida. Y estos magnets lo hicimos con como si una abuela no sabe cómo administrar naloxone, con esto dan los pasos bien rápido y lo puede hacer. So, también tenemos este recurso, además de otros para educarnos con la opioide y el problema ese que tenemos.
Sabes, muchas gracias y gracias por esas instrucciones también, porque hace poquito Doctor Anavi conversaba con nosotros y conversó con toda la audiencia aquí y es lo que dice, muchas veces no sabemos que existe, a lo mejor no sabemos dónde está, en qué lugares lo podemos obtener y luego las instrucciones. Entonces, gracias por estos recursos para toda nuestra comunidad, por esas instrucciones y aparte por esas enseñanzas que las personas lo pueden tener gratuitamente. Thank you so much for following us. Thank you so much for checking this 7th annual Southern Arizona Opioid Misuse Prevention Symposium. We will be live right now. We're about to end our live session, but remember, all this information will go into our Spotify, YouTube, Roku TV, Amazon Fire, and live in Facebook as well. This has been very informative for everyone, for all of our audience, for our community. Check it out and continue to check all these vendors. If you're here, if you there were some followers from We Love Nogales, they were watching live from inside. So continue to watch us to pass the word out. And thank you again for watching us. And we'll see you again this week in another segment. Bye.